channel. This will be the first part in my video series on how I built our library. For as long as I can remember, I've always had a big dream of one day owning a castle, and for that castle, there were two big things it had to have. It had to be big enough that I could get lost in it, and it had to have an awesome library. My husband and I are both big readers, and before we even met, we both had quite a lot of books. Since we've been together, we've collected a lot more over the years, to the point where they're starting to overflow everywhere. Like here, and here, here, don't mind the mess, and here. There's random bags full of books all over the house. And lastly here, these are the boxes that are still left from us moving here 2 years ago. We had, I think, 30 of these cases, and they're kind of just like giant banker's boxes. But as you can see, these have been sitting here for 2 years because we really have nowhere to put them. That is, until we get the library. When we got this house and moved in, we realized pretty quickly that one of the rooms in the basement would work pretty well for a library. It was really big and open, lots of light, and the previous owner was using it actually for an art studio. The very first thing I worked on in the room was the long windowsill. It was just made of naked pine board, so I wanted to get it stained and looking nice. And it was also kind of to try and test out how dark of a stain I wanted to go. However, we ran into some problems. Once I took the board off, I realized between the foundation and the drywall and underneath the window framing, the wall was actually full of mud, like literal mud from outside. So I had to get that all cleared out, cleaned out. It ended up being a much bigger project than we initially expected. So let's go back in time a little bit. In May 2020, I planted a nice little garden in front of all the basement windows, but then July came and we got a torrential rainstorm. You can see here in the pictures what happened. It basically washed out my whole garden and created a sinkhole in front of one of the basement windows, the closest to the corner of the house. So what I ended up doing is cleaning all that up and then throwing in some riprap along the hill to try and help the water flow down a little better. However, this still didn't fix the problem. We had noticed a couple times when we had a lot of rain that in the basement there would be some moisture, sometimes even a puddle, or sometimes a flow coming in along the wall. So we knew there was a big problem. I just didn't know the extent of it until I ended up taking that windowsill or ledge board off and actually seeing what was underneath in December of 2020. So what was really happening was, if our eaves troughs got plugged, they would overflow and all the water would flow down to the corner of the window. And eventually all that water rotted out the wood frame of the window till it was pretty much completely gone. And so then any time after that we got torrential rain, or if that gutter wasn't cleaned out, all the water would just push mud into the house. Literally inside the house. It was disgusting. To fix the outside, I started by digging out all the soil away from the window and then checking out what was going on in there. You can see in this picture I'm actually sticking my hand into the house underneath the window. Like, that's all the wood frame that has been rotted out. Once I had all the dirt removed, I put in a plastic barrier to try and seal everything off and prevent moisture from getting in. And then I used some roofing tar to fill all the gaps around everything and kind of glue the plastic to the foundation of the house. I know this isn't perfect, but it should work. And then finally I filled the hole with pea stone to help water drain when it started pouring in. Well, that was fun. So now for the inside. So the first thing I had to do, obviously, was clean out all the mud after I pulled up that windowsill, or that shelf ledge, whatever you want to call it. I scooped out, cleaned out all the mud, vacuumed it out. I got some 2x4s and jammed them in to kind of make a new frame to support the window. And then I got some spray foam insulation and I crammed that stuff in everywhere in there. So until it was overflowing, and then once it was all dry the next day, I just shaved off the excess. Then I just replaced the board. I decided it would probably be a good idea to check behind the walls in that back corner where the leak had happened and make sure everything was dry. So I cut out some sections and found that the wall on the top of the picture there was completely dry, but the wall on the left was a little bit moist. And then ended up replacing the drywall and putting everything back in. I had never done drywall before, so it was kind of fun, I guess. Next year, I'm gonna have to go back and put in a full French drain and maybe even some big O tubing to direct the water away from the house completely. So that's everything I had to do before I could even start painting the walls in the library. I hope you enjoyed. Look forward to more. You may have noticed my awesome NASA hoodie that I'm wearing today. This is in celebration of the James Webb Space Telescope being fully opened in space. I'm pretty excited about this. I don't know if you are, but I've been waiting years for them to launch the James Webb. It's gonna be so cool, and it sounds like we're gonna get almost 20 years of data out of it. So that's pretty exciting. We're basically gonna look back in time as far as we can. And I would just like to say, go Canada, because we made 2 awesome instruments for it. Without these instruments, it wouldn't be able to work at all. So that's pretty cool.